Yeah. What do I do? Hey guys. Okay, so welcome to another episode of Truckers Delight, and it's time for the intro. 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody. This is the Start Take 2, and welcome to your live episode of FTP, in which we are going to fight the patriarchy by talking a little bit about Who Watches the Watchers, which is a really solid TNG episode. It involves proto-Vulcans, so, I'm going to love them. And it is early, shockingly, in TNG's run. It is actually season 3.
Do you think they learned a few lessons here and there from season 1 and 2?
I think so. I don't really necessarily think that they ever quite, that they ever quite get it like completely perfect.
Right.
But yeah, and I think it's really about middle of this season, early next season when I think TNG really hits its stride.
Okay. That's what's up. Okay. So, Who Watches the Watchers? I just got done watching it.
That means you're ready to do the summary.
That means it's my turn to do the summary. Literally, as I'm sitting here trying to upload these freaking pictures to tell the story accurately. Okay, so like, just give me like, how about this? You go. Tell me how you've been doing with all this weather while I upload these photos, because it's like the snow and the ice and the hail and the high water. Like, what's been going on?
We did actually. We did get some sleet, so it's sort of related to hail.
Okay. the hail, you say?
Indeed. Oh, you've been saving that one, haven't you?
I really have. I've thought about it all day. Like, I was just like, oh yeah.
William's like, I'm gonna drop that one on Marie. Like,
I have to. It's like, why not?
All right. You know what? I am actually gonna lead us in while you do those images. I'll talk a little bit about the episode. So
go ahead.
TNG is actually where we firm up the concept of the Prime Directive. And this is one of the big episodes in which we do this. This is a little early for this one, but hey.
Sorry. Go ahead. You know what? Go ahead. I'm still uploading. This is what happens when it's just the two of us. We can't get it together.
I mean, I've never been together in my life, so
I have never been straight, and people should know that by now. So,
right?
Like, the fact that I'm together is just no.
So basically, what happens is the Enterprise gets called to help a research station that has had some sort of disaster, and one of their individuals has gotten kidnapped. I don't exactly remember how that part starts, but the important part is that this is an anthropological research station, meaning that they're kind of behind a duck blind. I mean, obviously it's a 24th century duck blind, so it's fancy.
Very fancy.
But they're behind a duck blind, and they're watching this proto-Vulcan civilization on Mintaka do its thing. And because they're Vulcans, of some description, even if it's proto Vulcans. Everything is like this society is unfolding like just according to schedule. Like they're hitting literally every beat. Yeah, no, Insurrection really feels like this, man.
I was gonna say this gives me nothing but Insurrection vibes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they lifted the idea from here, but I'm also not saying that they didn't.
Yeah, a little bit of Insurrection and a little bit of First Contact, if you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything is hunky-dory with these guys, except that one of their people named Liko actually ends up like getting in contact with this magic fancy duck blind that of course shocks him, and he has to be beamed aboard the Enterprise for Dr. Crusher to like treat him, and she wipes his memory, sort of. But there's the problem of the fact that now that they're down a researcher, and so they're trying to figure out how on Earth they're going to, well, how on Mintaka, I guess I should say. That guy. Yep, that guy.
Nico. Good old Nico.
Pretty consistent veteran Star Trek actor, come to think of it.
Yeah, I've seen him in Enterprise. I've seen him as a Borg. I've seen him on a lot of stuff.
Like he is pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I think he played as a Romulan at one point.
I mean, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's one of those that's like in their stable. And his name is, according to Memory Alpha, when it loads.
Well, we got the picture right here. Just know that is Nico.
Is Ray Wise.
Ray Wise. He's the wise of the Ray.
But anyway, going back to this. They've got to find Palmer. And so Picard is kind of stuck in this really bizarre situation in which he's got to make a decision. Like, does he beam down and like rescue this guy? Because obviously they can scan Mintaka for human or non-Mintakan life signatures, which is an ability they sometimes do have and then sometimes don't have.
Nah, I noticed that too. I was like, did y'all just pick and choose? Like, I don't get it.
I got nothing. I gotta be honest. Like, I got nothing on that one. But you know, it's one of those magic things that works when the story says it does, and then it doesn't work when it doesn't. So, you know, whatever. So anyway, they can do that, but they don't want to, but you know, Picard doesn't want to do that because he's like, I'll mess with the Prime Directive.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like, yeah, no, it doesn't really matter because, you know, Liko's, and of course, this is where Liko's memory wipe comes into play because Liko's memory wipe isn't quite good enough, and he has vague memories of the Picard. there's the station. Please note season 3 hair on Dr. Crusher there.
Yeah.
Oh,
and the only time that they actually talk about Pulaski, other than episode 1, like they talk about her again, I think for the last time.
Yeah, no, and she basically just gets kind of like shunted away, which is, you know, I am actually kind of, you know, I'm actually kind of a diehard fan of Pulaski for a number of reasons. Not because she's a person, like Pulaski the character. I have no opinion on Diana Muldaur one way or the other. I'm sure she's lovely, but I do have strong feelings about Pulaski. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's finish this summary.
Okay.
Somehow we can never get through it. So Liko's convinced that the Picard is a god, and saved him from death and sent him back to Mintaka. And this is kind of a problem because the Mintakans have given up the idea of God, which is
apparently a pretty big accomplishment.
Ooh.
Like,
Manny, you and I are going to have to talk during the production meeting, man.
Oh my goodness gracious. Like they are literally, because it's like, is this episode really homing in on the Prime Directive, or is it talking about, or is it in a way throwing shade at religion and the negative effects that
I think
all of the above?
There's a lot going on in this episode, which is one of the reasons it landed in kind of FTP land.
Yeah, literally 2 things. And then I swear I'll let you go on. For this, it kind of shows like
I've heard that before.
I know, right? The negative side effects of having religion, but then you saw in Voyager when they were caught in that planet's wake or in its orbit, how they worship Voyager, and it progressed them to reach the stars. It is hey. Michael. Who's Michael?
Well, we're about to find out.
We're about to find out. Do you know Michael? Is it our Michael? We're about to find out because I don't see his face. Are
Hey,
you our
Michael.
Michael? Are you our Michael?
I am your Michael.
Yay!
and you're not smushed.
Oh God!
That is never not going to be funny. By the way, that is
It
never not.
It was a whole. I can't. It was a whole month ago, and I was like,
My intent was to come in the background, and then get settled and then join, but I wanted to listen in before.
"Oh, we're talking about who watches the Watchers, and we're watching you, buddy."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, totally.
Say it one more time.
I said
we're watching you because you know you're the Watcher, and we're doing Who Watches the Watcher. Like, we're trying to be funny, man. Like, work with us here.
Like,
okay,
work with us.
Like between me and Marie, we're like the most mature ones on the show. Like, because we never fully get through a summary.
Ever. It's kind of a thing.
It never happens. I mean, it happens, but like only when Jermaine is there. Well, no, that's a lie. It actually gets a little worse. When Manny is there.
But we're getting distracted again. I am going to finish the summary.
Finish the summary. I got the pictures. Let's finish the summary.
All right. So Liko wakes up. He's convinced Picard's a god. And meanwhile, Troy and Riker have beamed down in Mintakan garb, which is mostly just really bad makeup, y'all, is really what this is. They're trying to find this guy.
Yeah.
Everybody gets really super suspicious because Liko is now convinced that there is like a deity floating around out there. And somehow we jump from, hey, these guys are kind of like sketchball, to let us sacrifice them for the good of the world. We're going to sacrifice them to the Picard. And, you know, up in the Enterprise, Picard is horrified, which is the right answer. I mean, completely the right answer.
He was pissed.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's like, I am not a god! Which brings me to there's a funny story that I'll tell in a minute, but I am going to finish this. So Liko is going to attempt to sacrifice these people. Like, Picard beams down. There's a whole Nuria thing that we're going to get to. Picard beams down. Liko shoots him with an arrow. It turns out he bleeds, and we figure out that there's no god, but also that there are a whole bunch of spacefaring species out there. So the Prime Directive is pretty much shot. But because they're proto-Vulcans, it's not that big of a deal. Remember I mentioned a lady named Nuria? This particular society is matriarchal, and Nuria is more or less in charge. And basically, what Picard and crew come up with as a solution for his reification or apotheosis, I mean, pick your term, is to bring her aboard the Enterprise and have her look at her Mintaka 3 from the Enterprise, basically to convince her that he's as mortal as she is. And he succeeds because she's an eminently sensible person. Despite some initial awe, a little bit of panic, which the actress does a really, really, really fantastic job with, I think. Because Nuria would have been a really difficult character to play, because how are you going to keep your proverbial shit intact when confronted by something that looks so far into you like the Starship Enterprise would have? Because they're in the early Bronze Age, roughly. The Mintakans are.
Yeah.
But so how do you do that? And how do you make that tranquility and that sort of good sense believable? Because you contrast how she responds to how the guy in I can't remember the title of this episode, but it's the one where we get Nikolai Rozhenko and he's super sketchy.
Oh yeah, where he saves the people from like certain death and puts them in the holodeck and moves them to another planet, which we later see they tried to do an insurrection. There's a lot of this. Anyway,
I think everybody was tired by the time Insurrection rolled around. I mean, not as exhausted as they were by the time that terrible movie that shall not be named came to theaters.
I know. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm really not. I'm really not. So, but that guy is confronted with the existence of this civilization. It calls into account like his entire belief structure, and he can't deal with it, so he commits suicide, which is an
Mm.
interestingly, emotional moment for what is generally a truly terrible episode where nobody comes off well. Nobody comes off well.
No one.
Not even Picard, because Picard at that particular point, Picard's slavish um, adherence to the Prime Directive feels very out of character. Very out
I'm
of
not.
character.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I'm not
really
quite
make sense, and
sure.
it seems extraordinarily callous in light of the fact that these are people whose planet is literally breaking apart.
It's like, how do you apply the prime? And because we often times what I've seen in Star Trek is that whenever it comes to breaking the prime directive, it's usually saving them from certain death. It's like
Mhm.
if you think it's like the reasoning is, if I for 2 seconds, the reasoning is, which we both know is not going to be 2 seconds. The reasoning is, if they're going to die anyway, then if we can have the opportunity to save them from death, even though it may expose us, what I mean, we it's either
Hi,
let them
Manny. We love
live.
you too.
It's either let them live with certain information that we don't, that's not that big of a deal, or we let them all die. Like, how do you make that choice? Honestly, now it seems that in season 3, where we are right now, Picard was very firm in letting the dude die. But who's to say that by the time the episode that Marie was talking about with Worf's brother comes along, did he mellow up and mesh up the same way Cisco did by the time season 6 and 7 came?
I gotta look up this episode title because it's gonna drive me nuts. Aha. And now it's going to load. Part of the great thing about being like snowed under is now I have to have now I'm going to wonder, like, is my internet going to go down at an inopportune moment? It's going to happen. It's just going
Yeah.
to happen.
By the way, how's the weather treating you, Michael?
Weather's treating me good. It was a rainy day here in DC, but all good.
That's good. That's good. Oh, it's rain. Oh, it's raining
How
up
about
there,
you?
so probably.
Oh, sorry,
Well,
I cut you off.
no, you're fine. No, you're fine. Me and Marie are iced in.
Oh
Oh, you
no.
got it too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like, and I'm here for it. Like, I'm one of those rare ones that love it when it ices and sleets and snows, because that means I don't have to go anywhere or do anything. Now I'm
There's so
not
many,
now.
there's so many
I'm
things I could say to this. So many things, but I'm not going to say them because I'm working on
now
being a better human being. It's a
right.
work in
Now
progress, guys.
for everyone else, I wish it was a bright sunny day that no one freeze in their homes or die of carbon monoxide poisoning like they did last year. But it's just and it sucks, but it's just, for me, it's just like, I worked from home today, and I liked it. I know. I
I tell
know
you,
that.
the only reason I made it to work is because I work from home. My commute is terribly difficult. I've got to cross my living room.
You have to cross your living room.
Just imagine if all you had to do was hop on an elevator and go up a couple of decks.
Right? Right?
Oh man.
It does. I mean, in light of the sheer amount of like Star Trek memorabilia that I've got stashed in various places in this room, it sort of feels a little like that.
When I build my film studio, it's gonna have the Star Trek architecture inside it. You're gonna be deck by deck. The door's gonna and everything. I'll pay for whatever copyright. I don't care. But anyway, we're off subject again. So back to this. Picard comes on down after he gets on. Well, he's already here, but at this point he's shot. Luckily, he was shot in his shoulder, but at this point he was willing to give up his life because he made it quite clear in the very beginning that when it comes to the Prime Directive, when you sign up for Starfleet, you're prepared to sacrifice your life if necessary for the Prime Directive, which he was prepared to do. So I appreciate the Picard, even though we've learned later on with Crusher, there are moments he's unsure of himself. For this moment, he is 100% sure, maybe not of himself, but of the Prime Directive, and he has to follow it. Now, what that Prime Directive entails, we may never know. We'll hopefully get a show that's called Star Trek Prime Directive, since they're making
It's
one
one of
about
the things
everything
that
else.
drives me insane.
Yeah, it's like, what is the Prime Directive? That's probably what this FTP topic is about. Would you say? Like,
yeah, because this is actually one of those things that really bugs me, right?
Right.
Because obviously, my background is in law, so I'm really
Yeah.
interested to see where the boundaries of the Prime Directive lie.
Mhm.
And so with the Mintakans, we have a pretty clear-cut case, and
Mhm.
we're gonna set aside everything that happened in the original series, because at that
Yes.
particular point, the concept hadn't been entirely fleshed out. There was a vague awareness
Of the
that
Prime
messing with
Directive.
other civilizations was bad, but
Right.
Prime Directive in TNG, remember, this is the late 80s, early 90s, develops in response to basically nation building efforts in various
Exactly.
places around the world.
Right.
And so what the idea is that if you've got a pre-warp civilization, this is my understanding, if you have a pre-warp civilization, then you cannot reveal your existence or interfere with the evolution and development of their society. Obviously, that happens with the Mintakans, and there's not really anything that anything can do about that. Although that one guy looks a lot like Ethan Peck.
Yeah.
Looking at this and thinking it's like that it is going to be our Spock, who, by the way, we are going to revisit. Strange New Worlds drops May 5th, 2022, and we are
Yeah. Not to mention, there's also two other announcements. I don't know if they're announcements or vague rumors, but they seem pretty strong for it to be a rumor. Number one, there's a possibility we may revisit Enterprise season 5. Yeah,
I'm gonna be interested to see how they do that.
I don't know, but apparently it's connected to Section 31. I don't know. That's one. The other one, well, I think the other one is Section 31. It was a confirmation that Section 31 is still in the works. Like, it's not a theory; it's actually being written. So, and it won't be out this year. It'll probably be like 2023, maybe 2024. Hopefully, not that far. But it's in that. But it is confirmed that the show Section 31 is being written. So Jermaine will be very happy about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's I've been waiting with bated breath on that one too.
Oh yeah, anything
we
with Michelle.
We really are living in kind of an amazing renaissance for Star Trek. Just as an aside,
Yeah.
Because we've had just amazing content rolling out. Latter seasons of Discovery, we've got Lower Decks, we have Prodigy, which has been beyond amazing.
Right. Which we have finished, by the way.
Well, we finished part 1.
Well, oh, you finished part 1.
No. I mean, part 1 of the season. We're going to get subsequent episodes.
So let me get this right, because I watched part 2 of this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a season finale. This is mid-season finale.
It is.
Okay, thank the prophets, because like, I'm sorry, God, I'm here with you, but
also the prophets.
Yeah.
Preferably Cisco.
Preferably
Prophet
Cisco. We've established that he is a god. So, like, which technically the Prime Directive does not apply if you are technically already a part of that race of beings. That's a whole nother FTP episode. But for this case, what was I getting at? I was about to say something, Marie, and then I lost it. What was I
have
saying?
No idea. Oh, that this season isn't over, that we're going to get more Prodigy.
Right. Okay. So with the other Star Trek shows, we've been getting like 10 episodes, and then that's it. And I remember going on a whole rant. It was like back in November, a whole rant about the pistosity level that I was on, and how perturbed by the nerve and the audacity of the entire thing that they would only do 10 episodes, knowing damn well
sheer fucking hubris.
I
cannot believe you do not have this. Like hotkey.
Where is it? Oh my god! You know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna do this.
It's not nearly as effective as angry
Not
Admiral
nearly as
Wing. It's
not
just
nearly as,
not.
but they were doing 10 episodes, and then calling it quits. And I'm like, no, we were raised on 25, 26, 28 if we were lucky episodes in one season. And honestly, I don't care what anyone says. I'm all for the whole 2 million per episode thing and whatever, making it look cinematic and stuff. But baby, they used real things back then and it cost less and they had more shows. Baby, learn how to conserve your money. So I thought
Well,
they were
that's
going to
actually
do
kind of a conversation that we were having, right? Like my husband, myself, and a friend of ours, we were talking about
Yeah.
how the fact that the 1993 Jurassic Park actually stands up to repeat viewings.
Right.
Visually, let's just set aside some of the other issues with the movie.
Oh,
but
yeah,
like,
yeah.
we'll just set that aside. But
Yeah.
visually, it works because they built a T-Rex.
Yes. I mean,
And I think that's actually why a lot of, we give TNG and even TOS to a certain extent, like
Yeah.
some, like some side eye. I'm thinking
yeah.
specifically of the horned dog that Sulu gets to carry around, and then also the Horta. But
Mhm.
I mean, if you contrast that with, say, the Gorn from the Mirror episode, the
Oh,
Mirror
yeah, the
movie
giant lizard.
of
Yeah.
Enterprise, and I will take those practical effects any day.
Any day. Any day. Have we seen a Gorn since then?
No.
Oh,
No,
Lord.
I mean, they may have shown up in the background of a Disco episode or two, but I honestly haven't seen them.
Yeah, I've seen them in a graphic novel, but I haven't seen them at
Yeah.
all. We've heard of them repeatedly.
I think
but
really we just don't know what to do with a giant lizard.
it's like what can we do? We already have giant fish that apparently was about to blow up a conference. We already have we already since we're on the topic of animals for literally 30 seconds, which is I know it's another live for me. I remember you saying that you can't believe that in Star Trek 5 they made cat aliens canon. Well, they finally brought a cat in without sexualizing it and made it one of the good guys for Prodigy.
Well, they've done that before, actually,
They
because
have.
we've got two species. We actually have two species of cat people that are canon in Star Trek.
Oh, that's right. There's one in a Lower Decks as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually from an episode of the animated series, and it's a kind of a great sort of nod. And I can't remember. It's something like Safari or something.
Yeah.
Is the title. That isn't the title. I'm aware that isn't the title, but it's out there.
Right.
It's in that kind of vein. And that particular species, that's where they are. And what's great about Lower Decks is they allow him to stand up, which is kind of nice because in like in the animated series, he looks like this.
Oh wow! And then in Lower Decks, it's kind of like a mesh of both. Like it depends on the episode whether she's on all fours or on 2 feet.
I mean, if we're gonna veer into Prodigy Land, I'm so excited they saved the Katian because like I have been wondering what was gonna happen to that kitten.
I had no idea because I was like, please, because what makes
spoilers, guys. Spoilers.
I'm sorry, we're here. Okay, but what makes a good film is when you take a subject, a thing, a concept from the very beginning of the film, from the very beginning of the season, kind of like what they did with Alien with the tractor thing. Yeah, I'm sorry. We see this character that seems meaningless, just sold for no reason, and then in the very end is the reason why the universal translator is throughout the whole thing. Now, I'm not going to go any further because we have one of our Trekkers Delight wanting to do a recap on the first half of this season. So, what's his name? McCammon? Was it Jason?
No, it's Michael.
It was Michael. It's
Michael. It's the same guy that just left us.
I'm still trying to get to know our discords, okay? Because it's not like our names are there. Like it's
You're killing it here, William. Killing it.
I really am. It's just like they're both and I still can't tell. Because it's like yours is actually actually is it Marie?
It is not.
It is not Jermaine. Well, is Jermaine's Jermaine?
I think so.
This is why we can't do shows together, just us, because we are way off topic for what we're talking about. Okay,
So
look.
let's go back to Mintaka 3 and let's talk a little bit
Yes.
about religion and what one of the things I
Yeah.
really love about this episode is that
Yes.
Nico is the one who just goes into this whole hog.
Okay.
Because we haven't, I mean, TNG to this point has not been killing it in terms of treating women like people.
Go on.
I mean, if you've been watching FTP, then you know we've had Angel 1, we've had to a certain extent the greatest episode ever, Code of Honor, which has a side of misogyny on top of like rampant racism.
We can make a part 2 out of that one.
There's so much to
we are. I mean, since we're in Black History Month, like
that's valid. Maybe we
that's
should.
Actually we should. You know,
maybe we should.
guys.
Maybe we should.
Hello to the one person that is watching that is most likely a Trucker's Delight person. What do you think we should do? Should we do a FTP and a Black Trek special since it's Black History Month? Like, what do you think? Hey, Michael, how you doing? So, but
going back to the talking, I really, really love that Noria. Again, I cannot speak highly enough of Noria because that's such an interesting actress and such an interesting concept to me.
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have saw that actress again.
Don't we?
I mean,
I don't remember.
I loved her. I loved her regardless. Yeah.
But yeah, I just as a concept, I think that would have been an incredibly difficult thing to do. Because I mean, the thing about it is Liko's not far off.
Right.
I mean, we would all love to think that we are evolved enough to recognize that this is not a god or a deity come to visit judgment upon us. But I don't know how I would react when confronted by an alien species with technology that looks like magic.
This is true.
What?
What?
I think I would just be so fascinated.
Well, okay.
Once you get over the please don't squawk me like a bug impulse.
I don't think so.
You're not gonna have the please don't squash. I mean, to be fair, I mean maybe Michael thinks he's important enough not to be squished by a bug. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to get you a bigger window for your ego too, man.
I am here for it. I am here for it. I will build it. But honestly, if I may
build it, if you build it, it will come. Yeah,
I know, right?
But
if I may, the fact what I find interesting between Marie's point and Michael's point is that, yeah, I would be fascinated as hell, and I would want to learn everything I could. But at the same time, I'm in the 21st century, where it is almost common knowledge we are technologically, mentally, and even physically at that point where we can receive that information without losing our minds for the most part. At least I would think so. Anyway.
Really?
I think so.
Got a whole body of dystopian sci-fi to show
where these people are literally the equivalent of where humanity was at the time of Jesus.
Bronze Age.
Yeah, definitely in that era. Like they cannot handle certain things unless properly explained to them, and the only way that Picard could even get through to what was her name, Noria, was to watch someone die and understand that Picard is not a god. Cisco is. Picard is not. Now, hey, is this where Cisco?
That is also going to go on the Trekkers Delight merch, Church of Cisco.
Oh man, I guarantee they have a church after he left. They had to have. They had to have.
By God, if you can be like a legit Jedi and have that as your religion, I want Cult of Cisco.
There are actually people on Earth who actually live by the Jedi way.
Exactly. I'm not being facetious at all.
I'm cool. I'm cool being a spiritual Christian, but I don't mind being a Mandalorian. I'm sorry. Like, I don't mind. Like, but if we're
This
talking
is
about
the
religion,
way.
but I'm talking
Are we,
about,
are, we,
but
are we literally now crossing star franchises? I feel a little dirty.
Yes, we are.
Like I do. I feel a little
mean,
dirty, guys.
I mean, Eris would be proud of us.
I know she would, wouldn't she?
Exactly. But back to the back to the religion part. And I wanted to bring Michael, and I kind of wanted his thoughts for this episode. We saw what could potentially be the negative side effects of how influencing religion can be on an entire primitive people, no matter how mentally advanced they are. Whereas in Voyager, they got, and both of these were by accident, so it's like same concept, different result. Voyagers got caught in this, what I don't know how you can make that look, how you made a donut look like a planet. I don't know, but they did. And Voyager got caught in its orbit. And
now I've got real cravings for donuts.
I know, right? And now it's like a green donut in the middle of space. And these people fought to advance themselves just so they could reach Voyager. Now, that's the thing about the Prime Directive, which we know for cinematic purposes, they use it as a go-to thing for whatever. But what would you have done in that situation if you were in Picard's place, Michael?
If I was dealing with
Homeward.
Say it again.
Contrast this with Homeward, which is the title of that episode that was escaping me, and it was driving me nuts.
What was Homeward? Sorry,
Homeward is where we discover that Worf's brother is a major creeper. That's the Nikolai Rozhenko episode where they rescue the Boralans.
Why is that not coming to mind immediately?
It's the one where Worf's brother.
Because it wasn't a good episode, basically.
I mean, it's one of those last episodes of season 7 you skip over. Like,
yeah.
So is that when Worf's brother actually they erase his memory?
No.
No, that's Kern.
That's a fair cop. That's a fair cop. I'm not talking about Kern. I'm actually talking about Nikolai Rozhenko, who is
when they were sorry about that. Okay, when they were moving them through utilizing the holodeck to move them to a new environment, and yes, okay. So Picard meeting them in Hawkins. I think that if I were in Picard's place, I would.
Now, bear in mind, we have 3D printing capability. We may be able to create your idol.
Right.
Create my idol head garb.
Right. Like, everyone, you too can purchase for your home altar at Michael Greer.
So I think if I were in Picard's position, I would have. I really think I probably would have went down there a lot earlier.
When?
I probably would have went down. I think I probably would have sent probably a good sized team down when the first guy, when the guy snuck into the actual lab. I probably would have sent a team down at that point. A full team. Yeah. And I think that also
I don't know, man. That was a pretty full team. I mean, I'm actually not being facetious on this point. Like I'm not. I'm saying, like, I realize that comes off a lot. Because I spend like 99.9% of my life being sarcastic, right? Like I get it. But no, I mean, because the initial away team is Dr. Crusher, Geordi, Data, random blue shirt, probably some security people who end up dead.
Yeah, we got to keep the red shirt concept, or at least a memory of it, on TNG.
So I guess my thought is, when I'm saying, like, I would have probably have sent a full survey team down with camouflage gear, I would have sent a full. I would have probably essentially sent a full camouflage team down, and research team that was ready to be integrated back into that space. I would not have sent just an away team to retrieve. That's what I would have done differently to begin with. I'm trying to remember the exact moment when Troy.
Also, you bring up a good point here, because this is another one of those like technology gaps in Star Trek that has always kind of bothered me. Why do we not? I mean, I get it. The Federation isn't supposed to be developing cloaking technology for ships, but like, why do we not have better like camouflage equipment in the 21st century?
By insurrection, they do.
Yeah, that's true, by insurrection, but we're not in insurrection land, because I don't hate my life that much.
Go ahead, Michael, please.
I was going to say, if we're able to cloak the science station, why don't we have that? We could have done screens to actually like send a team down with like smaller screens of the cloaking. Like, that's what I would have done. Knowing that this is an active environment where, we have villagers walking back and forth, I would have sent a whole team down. And it also, I think that,
I mean, it is the 90s. Do we know how? Do we remember? Do we know what the regulations for Vasquez rocks were at that point? Because you can't. There's a lot you can't do now because they're geologically fragile. Because that is also a fun fact. Mintaka 3 is Vasquez rocks, which you may recognize from every Vulcan ever. But all right, I'm sorry, Michael. Like this. Well, also welcome to FTP and welcome to Marie and William. You're gonna have to push.
No, like Michael is literally the only rational one here between the two of us. I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to acknowledge that he has been overly patient, and that we thank you for coming onto the show. I'm just giving credit where credit is due, like, because like honestly, even in the entire FTP group, he is on point. He is on time. He's very analytical, and he's a very, very nice Vulcan. So I say nice with emphasis on nice. Like he's nice. So anyway, Michael, please go on. Why would you send an entire team camouflage if you can't with looking like them? Yeah, but why would you send an entire team?
Well, one, because I actually believe in the Prime Directive. I think the Prime Directive, to a certain degree, makes sense, and so that's what I would have done.
Right.
But I also think that as it relates to some of the cultural components, I would not have been as concerned as Picard. Like, let the myth kind of exist. I'm thinking back to, terrible thing. The remake of Star Trek, the Star Trek one where with Chris Pine and
oh, you mean 2009?
Yeah, 2009.
It's Star Trek.
So you're actually talking about Into Darkness, because Into Darkness has that first like I want to say it's like that first 10 minutes of the movie where Kirk and Bones are like running away and they're trying to save the planet.
Yeah, it's the second one. Into Darkness is the second one, and they literally screw up the Prime Directive in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Yes, but my thing is,
and then try to lie about it.
But in all honesty, I think that I would have more so taken on the cultural aspects. I probably would have taken more of a Kirk approach and been like, okay, listen, they're going to go back, they're going to tell some stories. Yeah. I mean, imagine after the guy woke up on the ship, if he would have came back and said, I heard, or no, what was the girl's name?
Nuria?
No, it wasn't Nuria. Who did they take back to the ship?
Nuria.
It was Nuria they took back to the ship? Mm-hmm. Sorry. You all can tell I was like super prepared today.
No. That just means you're with the rest of it.
that means I don't feel as bad anymore.
Right. I've had vomiting twins, man. Like,
I swear, I would have just sent her back and been like, listen, they're gonna work that out on their own. Give it about 30-40 years. This will grow into myth and legend, and they will probably create a brand new branch of psychiatric medicine because they're gonna say she crazy.
This is actually one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because there's this real assumption on the part of, Picard and Starfleet and the Federation that that this is not that this experience is going to be something that this species cannot get over. And that fascinates me because I think Michael's right. Like, if they had just let that run its course, it would not have been as nearly as damaging as not.
You know, if you
And
sometimes
I gotta tell you, like, it just sort of assumes that Picard and the spaceship are that important. And I kind of think that, and I really do kind of think that Star Trek needs to like step back a little from that.
because it's not like a time travel episode. If we were gonna go by the logic of yesterday's Enterprise, it's not like a time travel episode where you mess up one thing, now you got to go back and fix the whole thing. It's not like that at all.
You gotta let Edith Keeler die, guys. You gotta.
It's like I see where Maria's going. It's like if something messed up just a little bit, baby, beam him out and call it a day. Beam him out, call it a day. That whole episode was completely unnecessary. The only reason why it got worse was because they kept interfering, trying to undo what they did.
Yep.
That's the only reason why it got worse. They literally could have called it a day by beaming up the father and the daughter and testing whether it wiped their minds or not. Because it's like, I would have consulted with every Vulcan and Romulan in proximity and say, hey, this is our situation. Can you hand us a copy of your biology so we can make sure this shit works? Like, but no. We have to have this. We have to have this whole conversation. And again, like, there's this very real kind of downplay, I think, of the sense of these people, and you get and it's almost paternalistic, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this episode. Because it smacks of a lot of sort of assumptions of what certain people consider primitivism and primitive cultures, and how primitive cultures handle X, Y, or Z. Right. And my argument is that primitivity has nothing to do with how they're going to handle this. Yeah, because like I think what you're saying is, they are as smart as claimed to be, then why not give them the opportunity to see how they handle a situation?
Which is ultimately what happens. That ultimately ends up being, I really like kind of Who Watches the Watchers really subverts that trope in kind of a really fantastic way. And in that sense, I think it's in dialogue with a number of episodes from the original series, like Piece of the Action and Pattern of Force. Because in those situations, it really was the Federation influence on these primitive cultures that derailed everything. Because the Federation clearly just sort of assumed it was that important and just didn't handle it well.
Oh, there is Manny in the comments. I didn't know that.
Did you think I was just kind of like randomly gesticulating at him? Like,
well, you know what, Marie, we have our moments sometimes, and it's and you know, it's that's beside the point. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're starting to struggle a little bit now. So, Michael, we're gonna need you to pull us back.
Listen, I'm trying.
I literally hear him typing on all over there, and it's not as loud, but it's just like I know he's typing. This is so cool. But
yeah, one more time. Say that last part again.
I said we hear you typing over there, and it's completely okay because I'm here for it.
I actually, in all honesty, I am not typing. I am just having major audio issues today, which is why I'm on my phone, which is also not cooperating with me.
Oh, wow.
Which is why you all are seeing a lot in my ear this evening.
It's that kind of a day. I'm really convinced that this particular show is cursed, because everyone I have invited has been like, yeah, no, totally, I'm down with this. I want to do it. And then they've been like, we've got other things to do.
Three people I told about it. This people. None of them. they each said next week.
I'm going to get hurt.
They each said next week. One. No, here's the thing. One of them said, "Oh, I don't have my laptop yet." I said, "Bro, use your phone." And he's like, "I guess." And then when it comes to time, sorry, I can't. All right, whatever. And then another person, well, maybe my schedule next week. Okay. And then another one just didn't return my call.
Well, we're here now. We're here now. That's
we're
all
here
that matters
now.
is that we're here.
No,
now.
it's just been funny.
We're here now.
It's been
we're
funny.
all in
this
this
particular broadcast
together.
has been as cursed as that anthropological research station.
Yeah,
right.
That station was cursed.
Right,
Because it just kept exploding for no reason.
So I guess to take us out of, I guess, the command aspect, well, not the full command, but the Starship Command, as the manager of that anthropological station that was actually stationed there, hidden and doing the research.
Yes.
What would you all have done if you were the station manager? What would you have done differently?
That's a good question. William, I'm throwing you under the bus.
Okay, I'm here. Let me drag my ass over here. Here we go. All right. So you're asking me if I was in charge of that research station, that duck blind, what would I have done? So if I'm right, one of the researchers was kidnapped, or did they find him in a cave or something? I forgot about the prologue a little bit. I just know that something
after the explosion, he randomly
he
falls
sees
out.
that things are starting to break down a little, and then he's I mean, let's be real. We are all going to be that guy. Wait a minute. Why is the wall flickering? Let me go over and poke it with a stick. And that's roughly what happens.
And then he falls out.
And then,
okay.
Also, I think Palmer gets blown out, as well, because Palmer's super important here because he's the random. I mean, he himself is not important, but his existence is this wild card floating around Mintaka 3.
Okay. All right. This is something that I picked up when I used to be part of a construction group. Whenever an accident happens, every construction worker in the vicinity is supposed to stop what they're doing. Every single person. The reason being is because once one accident happens, a domino effect proceeds right after. And the only way to stop it is to stop it as soon as the first accident happens. Even if it's so much as you falling off your four-wheeler, it's an accident. Everyone stop. I would apply that to this. If I was head of that research station, the first thing I would have done was see if there were any Mintakans in the vicinity within a mile radius. And then once I've determined that they are not, or at least half a mile, at least, I would, after I've determined that they are at a reasonable distance, I would have shut everything off. I would have turned everything off. I would have put it to a low power setting, because you saw and I'm not saying that I would do it because of the reason that I saw that happen later on. The reason they came to that research station was because of a light flickering. But if you think about basic animal instinct, they are attracted to anything that's shiny. Any light source, anything that is outside of their norm. So basically, by not shutting stuff down, they turned themselves into a lighthouse. And I'm not saying that I would have shut everything down because of that, because obviously if I was in that situation, I would not have known that was going to happen. But as far as what I've learned from past experiences by watching accidents happen, I would have followed that same ideology. That's what I would have done.
For on my part, I don't think I would have been that close. My research station would not have been that close because y'all, you don't have to be. That's one of the great parts about all of this magic 24th century equipment to which you have access. Right. You don't have to be on top of the Mintakan settlement.
How close were they? Did they ever say?
You can beam there. I mean, it's clearly walkable because Liko and his sister walk it, and it's over there by the magic sundial. So it's close enough that they're
damn,
apparently just right on top of their shiznit, which was also true of insurrection.
Yes.
Which is kind of an interesting question. Why do you have to be that close?
Yeah, in insurrection, they were slap dab in the middle.
I mean, this is not. I mean, I get that you're writing an ethnography, but at the end of the day, you have the capability of observing from afar. So why don't you? Why do you have to be right there in the middle?
That's a very
Staring
good
at people
question.
like there is some sort of science experiment, which is
mean,
also kind of, again, which is also kind of like dodgy.
I mean, by that point, we've established that the cameras in that time in the future are so small
And so
that
powerful.
and so powerful, you can put them in the settlement and be just fine and call it a day. Yes, it's 21st century technology, but baby, we've established throughout all of Trek, well, 24th century and on, that the cameras are so small. I don't know how they managed to have recordings of people. I didn't see a camera there, which means that it's very, 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 very small. And they've literally surpassed high definition,
I'm
1080p.
also really kind of squicked out by the lack of consent here.
Oh, they do that every single time. They
Yeah,
do that.
like, I'm
It's a
really
thing.
proud of this because it's like these are we're setting up this duck blind like it's like David Attenborough is going to start like narrating this, and it's wild discovery, but it's like wild Mintaka. These are sentient beings.
Yes. So you think so? It's kind of like
they should have the right to say, study us or don't study us.
I think we come across that in another episode. Where
do we know? Because that's
we do
interesting conversations that I think Star Trek really needs.
We do. It was a TNG episode. It was from the actress that played as the Romulan a couple of times, and
I think Marie needs to be on our next discussion about ethics and morals within Star Trek.
Well, definitely. That's what FTP is in part.
Well, there was a TNG episode, and I forgot the name of it. Heaven help me, but they did come across a situation where they were revealed again, and they were sentient enough and even powerful enough that Picard said,
"Yeah." This is the one where Riker gets like, yeah. This is where Riker gets, where Riker ends up getting found, and it's a pre-warp civilization, but they're on the cusp of warp.
Yes, they're on the cusp of it, which means they have the ability to say no. Let's just say they've reached the age of consent or something. I don't know.
So why would Americans not be able to say no?
Well, that's the thing. How do we know? When where in the Prime Directive does it say what level in your species do you have the ability to say no? And even then, will the Federation even follow it? Will the Federation even follow it?
Right. Because there's this assumption that it's completely okay to make these people
and
beings
we also
a research subject, and it's and that's one of the things that really kind of bugs me, because Star Trek really hits that hard with this whole conversation about like primitivism, and it smacks a little bit of colonial assumptions.
Honestly, I think this is a result of,
and again, that's why this show is on. That's why we're covering it in FTP.
That's why we're covering it. But but this is another thing that I've just noticed. It just hit me. Earth was affected by the Prime Directive didn't yet, but if we were to apply the Prime Directive to 20th and 21st century Earth, humans were affected in a negative, what could be interpreted as a negative way that caused the reasoning for them to spy on other people. Because First Contact in 2063 was not First Contact at all.
No.
We've established in Enterprise, which I believe was a very good storytelling episode from DePaul, by the way. One of the best ones in my opinion.
One of their best episodes, I must say.
It was one of their best ones.
I want to know what happens to that random Vulcan.
Man, you know how we are with legends. They took his body, they buried it, but his children and his children's children, that's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
Area 51.
Ah!
So that's who it was. That's who it was. Area 51. Because
absolutely.
It's entirely possible, right? Like, I mean,
so if
that would be a great storyline. And
that's a great story.
It would be great, especially
it's a shame Manny's gone, because this would have been this would be a what if episode, like from the jump. Like, what happens with
the Vulcan that ended up having a family? He had a family.
But one way to say it again.
No, we were waiting on you. I said he had a family.
Right. So my thought is, if they did want to, I know this is getting away from ethics and morals, but if they did on when Picard goes back, because Picard is going back to 2022 or 2023. Hopefully they do a better job in season 2 than season 1.
Oh my god! If they bring him back, I'm going to scream. I am going to scream.
But they're going back, so it would be great if they like do a scan and they're like, well, there is a Vulcan. We are finding Vulcan DNA or some type of Vulcan life sign on.
He would be alive at that point. And
then they do that. They kind of run across this Vulcan, and they're like, oh, this story has been passed around from my like generations through my family. And it's like they just pull off like some random like Velcro jacket. And they're like
the Velcro.
This awesome storyline that weaves all of this together. But CBS ain't about that life.
Man, CBS don't know nothing about that. CBS don't know nothing about that.
There was so much to Carbon Creek. It was such a great episode. And I also want to say, for all my ranting on this particular show, I think Who Watches the Watchers is a really tight episode as well. Especially for it to be season 3. Just in case anybody out there in internet land is wondering like why I'm ragging on this episode. I'm not. I really, really like it. From a story perspective, because I think it actually grapples with a lot of things, but I think it doesn't examine some of the assumptions that underlie the basic story framework.
Yeah. Man, we have covered.
And how was that for a segue back?
Beautifully.
I'm really proud of that one, guys.
I'm actually well done, and we are literally at the 1 hour mark.
Yep. Look at me doing my thing.
See, we have successfully managed to recap on the story, and we each had our turn to talk and bring our point across. This was a very good discussion.
It was. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. I've seen you floating around. I'm excited to finally be on a show with you. Like in person as opposed to in absentia.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? If I can get this Prodigy recap, I need to do a whole like podcast outline for an episode or two and share it with you all. But yeah. So, but then we can do one together. Have you watched all of Prodigy?
I have to write about
it. Okay. So, Michael.
Like I actually write about I guess this is a good place as any to plug this. I actually write a weekly Star Trek column for Game Industry News, and I cover all new Star Trek and old Star Trek.
Fair.
Well, you know how amazing.
In fact, check it. Like this is one of my favorite things that I got for Christmas this year.
Oh God, here we go. Aww.
With my 426 shares.
Love it.
One share at a time.
I was excited. I was very excited, but that was the first episode of Prodigy there.
Yeah. So Michael, what I was gonna ask was, are you aware that this, from what Marie tells me, this is this mid-season finale that we saw. This is not the season finale.
Yeah, so they just added, I think like late last year, they just added additional episodes. So this was supposed to be the original end of season 1.
Yeah, because it gave me seasonal vibes.
It really feels like the end of a story arc, because I mean, I got, again, major credit to the writers' room. They have managed to keep it like really encapsulated.
Yes.
But like major.
Just to tease, I think that they did such an amazing job with Prodigy weaving together, and I want to talk about this, but they have literally weaved together every Star Trek series and tied them all together seamlessly in Star Trek Prodigy.
And then Janeway at the end of it sounded like she still loved Chakotay.
I don't know why. I really don't. I don't know why. Like Don't know why. Chakotay was not a great character.
Look, no, Robert Beltram is not a great character. Chakotay was a great character.
Wait a minute. Wait. Let me step in here. So let's
But also, this is not the place to have that argument. I'm actually going to tease this. We will go head to head on this issue when you do the Prodigy episode. We will talk about whether or not
I will join you.
Is the backbone that you need for this show.
Michael, you lead that one. We will follow your lead because I ain't gonna lie, I am ready for it because I'm getting sick and tired of everyone telling me that Chakotay ain't shit. He is the shit. He has the nicest butt on Voyager.
Well, I said we see your priorities, my dear. My darling, we see your priorities. And I'm not gonna argue. I'm not arguing. But also. Anyway, thank you, Internet Land, for joining us on Characters Delight FTP. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Let us know what you'd like to see. And hopefully we will see you soon. Bye, guys.
Good night. See you guys.